Hey guys, welcome to today's podcast episode. Today we're joined with Ben Hawksworth. Ben, thank you so much for jumping on board today on this podcast. Could you just give us a quick breakdown, like who is Ben, what would you do, and yeah, who are you? I think
My name is Ben Hawksworth. I'm the owner and founder at the Coach Consultant, which is basically a free tier agency. So it's an online course as the bottom line. We've got the Propel program, and then we've got the agency, which is what I predominantly do, which is working with like real top level high performers. But we basically have the Coach Consultant to cater for people at all levels, in all fairness. Then secondary, we've got CP Education, which is a education company which has level 2 and level 3 personal training certificates, as well as a high performance like educational academy. And then the third and final one, which we are doing again this year, which is the Coach Convention, which in essence is kind of a big event. First one was in 2022. Next one is in May. Tickets released and tickets selling fine. Hopefully they'll get rid of them all because I've gone in double the size of 2022, so a bit ballsy. But I'm sure that will get that kind of sold out and have a great event. So in essence, yeah, it's kind of three core pillars that I kind of do, which is business, marketing, sales, focusing on like scalability, strategy, sustainability for fitness professionals. And in essence, the coach consultant work with loads of people. We've got lawyers, we've got dentists, we've got events, everything known to man. And then basically education and events after that.
And I know you've mentioned this briefly, but how did the coach how did the coach consultant come to life? Like, what was it? What was it before? What were you doing before that? I think.
So the coach consultant started as basically me coaching and consulting at the same time. So that's where the concept of the brand actually come from. So off the back, I'm sure you want to speak about this today, but basically off the back of, well, in the middle of lockdown, I was still doing a bit of online coaching. I had the education company, I had a meal prep company, I had loads of stuff. But as I basically built out the education company, I went into more like kind of one-to-one mentoring. And in essence, like it properly blew up, but I was still basically coaching at the same time. So it was almost like it was a Ben Hawksworth signature, and then underneath it says Coach Dash Consultant. It's actually the logos that I have on my modded van at the moment. If you see a video, and I basically, when I was looking at it, I was like, wait. I am the coach consultant. I am basically consulting and coaching at the same time. And as I started developing that, I kind of created the concept of the coach consultant, because we're it's a bit of a strange one, mate, because most of the time, if you look at an agency format, it's got like an oversight company name. Whereas I was like, look, at the end of the day, like it's me who's doing it. And I've called myself the coach consultant for a while. So we just kind of ran with that as a brand. And then from that point, I stepped out of not personal training, online coaching, because I couldn't fulfill it anymore. Numbers blew up with like the one-to-one mentoring side, and then from that point, it just evolved and evolved and evolved and evolved. We actually started a lot of the time when I build companies, they'll start at the bottom of the pyramid up. We basically built the coach consultant from the top down. So we started with that top level high performers, so like the agency. And then basically what we found after that is like, look, we had a lot of interest coming for people underneath. So then we built the Propel program, which is basically a smaller version of the agency. And then finally, what we have got the Members Association now, which is actually going to be turning into Project Propel in June, which is a little bit different because a lot of the time people start from the bottom and build their way up, but we pretty much started from the top and then worked the way down. So like in year one of the coach consultant, we'd pretty much ticked off the majority of the biggest names in like the UK, in US and Dubai, working with on a one-to-one level, which were pretty nuts, in all fairness. I think a lot of it, we built the business based on referrals and results alone in year one. And despite the fact that I've put a pathetic social media audience at like, well, not I'm saying non-pathetic, but I have 11k followers compared to what most people out there. I've done this for 10 years, and I know a lot of people. A lot of my clients and that will always say that I'm like ghost mode, because I'm working with all these people and I'm doing all this stuff, but people don't really know like kind of who I am, which is always kind of funny. But it's just how I like it. In all fairness, I've never been a "ooh, look at me" type of guy. I just love the job, I love the work, and I just love the game of business. And I think that's what's kind of created the sex from the success from that point, because it's just basically become become a passionate business model where like we've got upwards of like 20 staff now on a one-to-one basis with clients, and everyone's got the kind of same culture of like genuinely caring about them. And I think that's what's kind of rocketed it from that point, really. And it's almost like we're in a ridiculous position now. Like we built the business up to 7 figures in the first 12 months, which is absolutely fucking nuts in all fairness, from scratch. So we hit 10 times revenue in a 12-month period. Going into year 2, we doubled the business again. So it basically hit 10 times revenue, then doubled it. And then obviously this year I'm like, right, can I double the double? While being a new dad as well has been quite challenging. But in essence, it's grown and scaled from just passion. I think that's it. I'm not going to say, it's not because I'm the biggest name out there. It's not because of some fancy bullshit marketing and sales tactic that people say. It's just the fact that we get the work done and we help people. And I think that's what it comes down to.
That's really cool from a story perspective and how it's transpired. I think, like you mentioned, so many people, I think sometimes myself included, can just swept up of like, oh, like let's do this big thing. But if you just focus on the small, like granular daily processes. So you've mentioned like two big kind of things come to mind on that. One of them was you mentioned that the last 10 years is it's just been building businesses, the meal prep, the coaching. Before that, what, like looking back over that 10-year period, what do you reckon are like some of the quote unquote like unfair maybe advantages or lessons or experiences you took away from those businesses that in essence kind of
Yeah. Do you know what? One thing that because it's a running joke in my client base and my friendship group that Ben Hawksworth luck is like a thing. So not as much nowadays. I feel like I'm at a good point, but in my early 20s, for the first 5-6 years, like fucking hell, I went through the absolute ringer with stuff. And it's created me to be very, 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 very resilient. And I think that's the pioneering thing for me is I've faced a lot of setbacks, but nothing really seems to phase me anymore because I've been through the worst of it already. So like something comes up now and I'm like, oh, that's fine, that'll pass. And it's someone said like one of my clients, Joe Parrish, he was saying, how do I know what I know? And I said, because I've seen worst and best sides of it back to back for fucking 10 years, mate, and obviously a lot of other life experience to go with that as well. But the biggest one for me was the meal prep company. A great idea, great concept, great products. We dominated Arnold's Festival 2 years ago. We sold 5,000 meals in 3 days, and then basically was the number one. We basically hammered everyone who was selling food there by a country mile. Dominated Fit Expo, but I did it wrong. I focused on product quality. So it meant that my profit margin was lower. And then what basically happened from that point is we had a quite a low profit margin on very good food. So we were selling loads, which was mint. But then after that, I was faced with problem after problem after problem. So I wasn't able to spend enough on my actual marketing efforts. I actually had a chef who was robbing me. So basically stealing food and stealing money. So that weren't great for profits either. And then we went into a pandemic. And then what happened from that point is we obviously was doing well. Like, to put into perspective, we were selling 1,000 meals a week in the first 12 weeks, which is just unseen level performance. Like, if you speak to any meal prep company, that's ridiculous level performance. But the profit margins were from the start. So even though, I did get done over by a chef and a manager, and then even though the pandemic, that absolutely fucked me, the resilient, because I kept that business going for 12 months after that throughout the pandemic, but that resulted in £120,000 just being completely lost. And then the final basically knife in the back was when we come out of the pandemic. I don't know if you do know this, but basically all food prices shot up. So as soon as we come out of the pandemic, because of like all the shit, all food prices shot up, and at that point I was like, this is just not a viable business anymore. So and then you're basically left with two situations there. You either basically drop your ego and walk away like I did, or you front up and just keep facing it. And it was actually closing that business down and me going all in on the consulting businesses was what led to us then. So I had 100% focus on one singular business from that point, and I learned a lot of lessons from that huge failure. And when people turn around to me going, how did we hit 10 times revenue in year one? How did we double it in year two? I say, it's because I fucking learned my lessons on little areas that you can't let go of when it comes to business from losing that meal prep company. Like, don't get me wrong, at the time it was horrific. But for me, it was about more than just the money loss. Like, it was challenging my relationship. Like, I wasn't happy, I wasn't fulfilled. And it's at that point, I think you just got to look at yourself and look at what you're doing and think, right, this is not right. I need to change this. And then it would have basically, what's that saying where like when you're pushed into a corner or you're pushed into a wall, you've basically got leverage to push off. I think a lot of the time they get defeated because they're pushed into a corner. I'm like, fuck that, come at me, because I'm going to put my leg on this wall and go through your face if you come at me. Do you know what I mean? That's the type of mindset that you need to have when it comes to business, because there are going to be times where shit's just going to go not in your favor, where your product's not going to align, your marketing's not going to align, you feel like you're spending and investing and you're not seeing much return. But I can generally promise you that it's lessons that you learn from those experiences and the resilience that you have what will obviously get you to move on from that point.
Yeah, it's funny how like it all kind of aligns looking with it. So you're going through that period, you're going through like the food prices have shot up, like all of these stuff are going wrong. What are the stuff like people in that thought process? I know I would be like there'll be like anxiety, there'll be like the mindset like, oh, what do I do? Do I just like pack it all up and just get a normal job? Like, what was there any kind of like mindset stuff you've had, or was you always super resilient towards it?
So what I did, I off the back of losing NutriFast, I looked right, where's my nearest win. I like, where's my nearest win right now? And then what I basically did is I restarted my online coaching business, and I hit 25k a month in the first 12 weeks of restarting that back up. Which was again nuts, because I remember people following it on social media. And how the fuck I went from, I had like 10 clients or something up to 86 at 250 quid or something daft like that a month, in a 12-month period. And I achieved that. And the thing is, what you got to take into account is I'd gone from being a meal prep guy, an education company guy, bit of online coaching on the side, thinking shit, I need to suddenly go all back in. So you've left with two options, right? I need to change the narrative as humanly fast as possible, right? And that's what I needed to do. So all I did from that point is for 12 weeks straight, I didn't. Do you know what the funniest thing about it was? I didn't use a single new client result to achieve that 25k month. I didn't use. So I'd coached for years after that. For 12 weeks, every other day, I posted a client result and tagged them and collaborated with them, and then did a short form reel for 12 weeks straight. So if someone clicked onto my page 3 weeks later after closing that business down, they wouldn't have had a clue I ever had a fucking meal prep company. And that's what people think, that the narrative can change and people digest what they want on a very acute basis when it comes to marketing. So I basically used that, built that up, and then once I had that money, I then built out the education company. Once I had the education company, I then moved into the mentoring, and then scaled the mentoring up, and then obviously kind of built things from that side. But it was almost like, when you're pushed into a corner, you've just got to look, where's your win, where's that low hanging fruit. It's not about thinking, right, I want the full ball of wool. I just need one fucking strand. I need one strand, because I've get that strand, I'm going to snag on that, I'm going to get everything. But it's about taking a step back and looking and finding that where it is, because a lot of the time people are faced with a problem and they go, shit, right, where do I go from here? Right? But in reality, all you've got to do is look for that little win. And then once you've got that win, pull on it, and then it's momentum, volume, momentum. And that's something that I say to clients all the time. Like, if you want to build a serious level high performance business, then the majority of it will come down to just generating as much momentum across operations, management, and marketing as possible.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like you mentioned as well. Like I find you can, the more you can kind of get, the more you can start to enjoy to get dopamine hits of the little things of like getting a client to sign up or getting a fulfillment win or something like that. That's probably the only thing you can chase long term, like sustainably.
Yeah,
You've always been like even with the meal prep company, with everything you've done, it's always been very like um very product obsessed. So like the margins were lower because the product was high. Now it's the same thing with referrals. Where did that kind of come from in terms of being product obsessed, and how do you measure success in terms of that field?
because your product sells itself. Do you know what I think? I think my obsession with that comes down to my values of a concept. So my podcast is called Do It Right, which is basically a term in Yorkshire, which is it's almost in like do it right. If you do it right the first time, you don't pay twice. If you do it right the first time, you don't pay. You don't have to pay the price. Or do you know what I mean? Whatever that saying is. My concept is if the product is the starting point. So it's the same thing with the agency, the Propel program, and everything else onto that side. Now we've built our business based on our product. In reality, it's definitely not my fucking social media. It's probably not even my marketing efforts, right? So, for example, a lot of the time, unless my beliefs are, I would never. Have you ever heard of? I'm actually doing a video on this next week, but the concept of selling shit as sugar. So basically, like, right, you've got. It sounds daft, mate, right? So a lot of the time, people will try and sell shit as sugar, right? If you put sugar on shit, it might look right, but it's still shit. Right, you might want to put pieces of sugar on that shit, put it in oven, cook it, add loads of ingredients. It's still a piece of shit. Right, it does not matter what you do with that piece of shit from a marketing effort. It's still shit. Right. So when you're looking at your actual product, right, you've got all this stuff nowadays where it's like, right, you've got fucking sending 100 DMs a day, direct response messaging, funnels, chains, whatever. Right. You can get as many sales as you possibly want. But if you get to that back end and it's still shit, all you're going to do is you can have people leaving, bad customer reviews, you can have high churn rate, high complaints, and high stress. I have seen businesses what operate out of a churn rate like mindset of going sales, churn rate, and it genuinely, the thought of that gives me such bad anxiety. It's not about the fact that it's not going to benefit me financially, because it would, but I would not be able to fucking sleep at night knowing that I was putting a shit product out to market, or I was overcharging for something. Like it just does not sit right on my values. Because if I paid X amount, because I've done it, mate. I've paid stupid money for shit before, and then and all I know is when I've had that shit experience and I have a conversation with 100 people over the next 2 years, I'm telling people about that shit service. That 100 people are telling 1,000 people what I've said to them there as well. So it's almost like when you throw a pebble into a flat lake. That's what a shit product does. Drop it in, you've got a ripple, right? And over time, it takes because I've had people who I potentially used to see as almost competitors a couple of years ago. I've had conversations with them recently, and they've gone, I'm proper struggling. And I'm very honest with people, and I've turned around and said, yeah, because you knew that you had high churn rate and you didn't sort your product out. So now you've got a narrative around you that even though you might be able to come in down the line and do a sick relaunch, sick narrative change, sick stuff on that side, but you can never ever change that first impression that you have in someone's mouth. Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing for me, is if you have the product, it's very, very easy to sell and market a very good product. Right? And don't get me wrong, your marketing and sales is a be all and end all to everything. But at the end of the day, if you can get it right from the start and you can have a lot more confidence, conviction, and belief behind what you're doing, then you're going to be onto a winner long term.
And it's that thing of, like you mentioned as well, like starting with starting with the end in mind. If you have the foundations on that right, then it's done. What do you, from a coaching perspective, like a coach listening to this, what are the key kind of performance indicators in terms of like actually having a good service? You mentioned churn rate. Is there anything else, like reviews, testimonials, anything else you look for in terms of?
Do you know what? Because I'm about to release a bit of business reel series on this, and as part of week one, it's basically building out different coaching models, and as part of one of the resources, it's basically comparing 4 different offers. I've got it on computer somewhere, but basically, in essence, it's like if you're wanting to scale as an online coach, because there's so many different shit out there. Someone's like, right, you need to do this, you need to do that, blah 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 blah. Comes down to 2 things. You do not need anything else as an online coach. You need one to have complete focus on your client management platform, right? Because in your client management platform, you have onboarding, you have your training structure, nutrition structure, your daily metrics, your accountability, your resources, your weekly check-in, your feedback, your check-ins. You've got all these different areas just through one platform. That's where all your effort needs to go. And then after that, all you need is short form content to scale. And I was, oh, what's that? Balloons. See them balloons come up then?
I think it's
Do you
a
see
Mac
that?
thing.
That's very weird.
I always get the thumbs up.
That's very strange. But yeah, that's basically what but in essence, so right, once you've obviously got your client management, you've got your short form content in place, then you're onto an absolute winner. And then obviously when you're looking, I've just done a webinar on this morning by saying, if you have 10 clients, start formulating all of your social proof and all your stuff immediately, because when you have 1,000 clients, you're going to fucking kick yourself if you've not done it from the start. So Trustpilot set up, Video Ask set up, right? You've got maybe Google reviews, because it's almost like the accumulation of feedback that will give you more authority and more impact down the line. But initially, it is client management platform, short form content and reach, and then if you're populating all these reviews and stuff, then that's when you can come as the third one there to obviously drive it out from that point.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think that's where, like, I know a few years back from a PT perspective, like me, it's easier to get swept up with like, oh, what I'm gonna do is just spend loads of time on on this, like getting, I'll go on Canva and do like a recipe guide and make it perfect, but that's not necessarily like client like it.
Yeah, massive, mate. You just hit nail on the head. People fucking about on all these different areas that they just don't need to be focused on.
Yeah,
Like,
like going on, yeah, Wix, whatever.
yeah, well, exactly. When you wake up, if you want to scale an online coaching business, when you wake up in the morning, how can I make my client management platform and service better to get better results, to equal more results, and how can I get more reach on social media? If you live
Yeah,
and breathe at both those two things for a 12-week period, your business is going to blow up. Because if your client management platform is better, people are going to have a better experience, they're going to get better results. Right? If you're increasing reach, you're going to get more followers, you're going to have more inbound inquiries, you're going to have more conversations. If you then combine the client management with results, with more reach, posting that social proof, that's how you're going to blow up. Like, it's not don't get me wrong, there's a lot more to it than just that, but as an overview pillar perspective, it is client management platform, social media reach, and then obviously your social proof impact.
and for a lot of coaches as well, it seems like the narrative you mentioned, it was like I can't really change so quickly from a marketing perspective, like 12 weeks. It's not really gonna, like, I need like longer term, I need this perfect plan. But how do you decide what target audience, what content to plan to post, and how do you structure that across like a week and a month?
What? So how to structure your like a social media content strategy?
Yeah.
Right. So first things first, and I've had this discussion with a lot of people, even in Propel and Agency recently, is deciding on what your message is. Right. What is your single one thing that you want every fucking person to know that you believe in? So let's just look at 3 examples. Right. You've got James Smith, right? Calorie deficit. That's all. That's it. Calorie deficit. Right. You've got Sean Casey. Right. You've got short, tasty recipes. Right. You've got the Body Coach, 5-minute meals and move more. You've got Eddie Abu. Right. Eat real food. Right. All they've done is they've focused on one singular message and then created as much content around that message as humanly possible. So, and I'm very open and honest. This is an area that I fucked in over the last 10 years in social media, because I've had meal prep company, education, events, online coaching, personal training, fucking mentoring, consult. I've had so many different shit to talk about. I've never really got to a point where I can isolate my message. So this is why from next month I'm basically kicking off. I've planned out 6 months of reels, and my message is making business simple. That's literally what I'm gonna do. Here's a step-by-step guide on a week-to-week basis of how to make business simple. That's literally what I want people to do. And my secondary message is a backup of that is, if I can do it, you can do it. Because I've obviously, people have seen I've come from personal training to where I am now, but I've also come from a very, very different place from a personal life as well, from quite a bit of a rough background as well. And I've gone through that, got over it. I've got over mental health struggles and troubles. I've figured myself out and I've worked up. And they're my 2 messages. If I can do it, you can do it. And I'm going to help make business simple for you. And that's what I'm going to focus on continuously for the next 6 months. And I think that's one of the main things that you can do is isolate what your single message is. And then from that point, an exercise that I think is quite effective for online coaches is, right, before you've got to decide your message first. Secondary from that point is who you're actually speaking to. And don't fucking build a customer avatar. God, it winds me up, that word. An avatar is just a thing. It's not something that you're actually talking to. A better exercise to do is build out a buying persona. So a buying persona is someone who you are directly talking to that you're going to sell to and who they're going to buy. Right, so it's an exercise that I do with people. Right, a set of questions, a set structure. Why would this person buy this product? Right, based on your buying persona, what 30 problems are they directly facing right now? So you've got 30 problems that they're facing. What are 30 resolutions that you've got for those problems? And what are 30 ways that your service directly associates with solving them problems? Right. All you do there is you select one piece of content for every single one of them problems, create a 30-day short form reel plan, and then month 2, repeat the exact same shit. Look at those 30 reels, which reels perform. So you might look at them and go, right, out of those 30 topics, 15 of them perform the best. Right, on my next social media plan, I'm going to make 30 reels about those top performing 15. Right, on your 3rd month, right, 5 of them went fucking viral. They went so much better than the rest of them. Right, I'm going to make 30 reels on those 5 isolated topics. So you can see what I mean. You start quite wide, but then you narrow in and narrow in and narrow in and see what's performing and what's engaging.
And it's like that thing you mentioned, that myth of that avatar as well. Like there's not really it's I think you can get yourself kind of stuck in your own head with like
so generic. Like, when someone said, I get it all the time, they'll go, "Oh, this is my avatar." I said, "What the fuck is an avatar?" It sounds like something out of a movie. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not someone who's buying your shit. It's like me describing someone walking down the street. I want to see that person and describe them and why they'd buy my shit. Do you know what I mean? That's how I can create targeted message and content. But creating an avatar is just creating something that you're aiming at. It's not why they're obviously going to come to you. Like, that's the difference.
It also removes that kind of like anxiety as well, like in terms of, oh, like I'm making it too specific, I'll turn people away because you've gone a lot, like there's a lot more of a system to it, and it can attract different people, but it's ultimately the same, like with the same mindset, the same kind of psychology. What are you finding? Is there one like process in terms of your clients using at the moment to get people into it, go from like a follower or like from a follower into a client? Is it just the similar like thing I did when I was like the similar mentoring stuff I've learned? Just follower, book them into a call, and then they turn into a client. Is there any other things you find work well, or?
Well, why? If the thing is, it's just because someone's followed you doesn't mean that they're going to book a call, and some don't mean that someone's going to obviously buy into your shit either. So, like, I always basically run it as like I call it frontline framework, free, then kind of paid. So one thing that I massively believe in when it comes to scaling a business, especially like a one-to-one service, is the concept of connect, community, collab or convert, course, and then convert. So basically, in essence, right, before you even sell to someone, have you got a connection with them, right? Before you even sell to someone, do they feel part of your community or part of your message? Right, from that point, what can you give them for free? So that's where you've got your applied lead gen, because that's the point where all your nurturing starts. But at start, it's just an attraction, which is connection, which is obviously you and your community. Then you're offering them, that could be obviously like, look, if you can get someone to a call and an appointment, says the same message straight away, mint. But in reality, you could offer them a lead magnet, something which is like an evergreen setup. They could download, you could opt in for like a high volume lead magnet. From that point, they've then come into that. They hit with an email nurturing sequence, an SMS sequence, and your email and SMS, don't be hard selling to them. It's about getting as much trust with them as humanly possible. So when someone opts into like one of my lead magnets, for example, I'm not trying to sell to them. I'm trying to explain to them like who I am as a person, where I was, why am I credible to actually help them, why I've probably experienced the same things as them. So all that's doing is just generating trust. And then from that point in your touch points, you've got potentially an outbound follow-up message at like day 4, day 5, when you've generated trust. If they've not taken action, like I actually get loads of replies from it as well. On day 5 on my email sequence, it's like, look, stay or go, let me know. I'm not fucking wasting your time. I'm not wasting my time. Like, if you want to stay on this email chain right now, you need to reply to me straight away. that email where I'm calling people out gets more responses than any other email, right? Because some people are like, yeah, let's go. Because you're creating that instigation of them showing interaction back to me. So when it comes to me doing a follow-up message, it's mint because I've already seen that they replied to my email. So I've crossed that road and built that barrier to them. But overall, mate, yeah, it's about it's the attraction process to get that initial connection. It's the nurturing pathway, the follow-up process, and then most importantly, the actual resurfacing and re-engaging. Because don't expect, just because someone's showing interest or followed you straight away, don't mean that they're going to have immediate buying interest. Right? They might just literally like what they see. So if you come in going absolutely fucking all guns blazing just because someone's followed you, it's pointless. It's about getting as much volume into your mid, top, and the funnels as possible to then nurture them to the point of them wanting to make that decision to invest. And also, what you got to take into account, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, is if you go front heavy on trying to get clients, like new follower message, get them onto a call, force a sale, your qualification process is shit, right? They are not going to last. You are going to have a headache with that person, right? With the agency, for example, I don't take sales calls anymore. I got off it, been trying to get away from it for a while. But in essence, how it works with the agency now is that Ben takes all qualification calls, but we even have a qualification process before even getting to a call with Ben, because it's a waste of time for one of my staff members to be on 50 calls a week if it's people who are not interested. But if someone wants to have a call with me one-to-one now, they have to pay $1,000 for a 30-minute call. Right? The reason being is if you've not got £1,000 to put, so it's refundable, or I'll knock it off the program. But if you are not willing to put £1,000 down into your own investment in your business, it's not worth a conversation for me. Right? I've had 5 people pay this week straight away, and the feedback that people have had from that point is, I love how serious this is, because it's not just trying to get me onto a call and sell. It's basically saying, take it or leave it. That's what you need to pay. I'm happy to refund people if I've wasted the time on a call. But it's the qualification process what a lot of online coaches and a lot of personal trainers out there forget about, and they wonder why they've got shit return rate, and they wonder why they hate the jobs. It's because they're attracting the wrong people, they're trying to get on calls with the wrong people, and they're forcing the sale to the wrong people, which is why it all starts with, one, your target market, who you want to work with, your product alignment, your customer buying persona. Because otherwise you're just left with 100 people and thinking, fuck me, I only enjoy working with 20 of these. Then you've got 80 people who are not even getting results because they've been forced into a sale. You're then having to spend 3 hours a day following up on people to piss about with actual check-ins. Right? People need to switch the psychology associated with it and look at it of going, right, why should these people want to work with me? Not, right, how do I get more clients? If you look at it from that perspective, you'll realize, and when you do that, you go, wait, it is actually my product. It's my product that I need to focus on. That is how I nurture people into a sale, not how I force people into a sale.
And that chip, even the psychology of like the people you're speaking to massively changes, because I remember being completely transparent, like 18, 19, I remember like messaging people about their dogs and like doing a hashtag stuff, and it's like it takes much longer to actually, like, you're messaging them first kind of thing. The psychology just changes completely.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, man.
And with the stuff in terms of, you mentioned in terms of the ignoring the avatar and then just going more towards the grid kind of framework, a coach listening to this, like, how do they actually find out that kind of buy-in personality, and how do they figure out who's the right person to double down on the?
But how do they double down on actually attracting the person that they want to work with?
Yeah, or how do they find out who it is that they want, that they should be targeting?
Trial and error, mate. Took me when I were a personal trainer, it took me hundreds of clients to isolate who I want to train with in the gym. When I were an online coach, it took me hundreds of people to isolate who I want to work with as an online coach. When I started mentoring, so my qualification for the agency has changed probably 3 or 4 times in the last 12 months. It's about self-reflective practice. It's about this is where another thing that really annoys me, when people are right, you have to have an obsessive niche. You don't. Like you formulate and you accumulate the type of people you want to work with over time, and you try and target them. But what you'll find is that the only way that you're going to figure out who you want to work with and what you want to do is by directly working with more people. So when you're looking at that, it just comes down to self-reflective practice. Like if you look at an ideal week for you, and there's just an exercise that I do with agency clients, what does your ideal work look like? What does your ideal check-in process? What's the ideal person that you want to be speaking to? When you look at your clients, out of those 50 people, right, who are the people that you enjoy talking to? Who are the people that you enjoy coaching? And if you basically continuously make sure that your time, your day structure, your client base is isolated and moving towards the people you want to work with, is going to keep your fulfillment levels really high. It's going to keep you motivated and keep you moving forwards. It's just when people are going through the motions thinking, I don't enjoy this, but they're not doing anything about it. That's where shit starts to go backwards, because the moment that you stop caring, everything starts to fall to shit from that point. So always just go on an enjoyment basis. I had someone say to me all the time, they went, "Oh, do you know if you change the agency, you could if you change that part of the agency, you could work with another X amount more people." I said, I could get doing extra 30-40 grand a month with agency if I wanted to. But that's my time. I said, what happens if I take on that type of person who's not ready for the service and hard sell to them? That is extracting my energy from the people who I enjoy working with. I said, so I'm happy scaling like I am right now. I don't need to open a door. And that's why you basically structure your business model around the stuff that you directly want to do, and not just what you feel like you have to, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So much of it to me comes down core pillar of it is more than just thinking abundantly around backing yourself in a way. Is there anything you can do to get away of that kind of scarcity mindset? There's a finite amount of money, there's a finite amount of people I can work with. I just need to extract as much cash as possible.
What is it? What almost like how do you get into a mindset? It's almost like getting into a mindset of being able to take risks. Almost like how do you actually back yourself? So I always say to people that confidence will come from taking actions, and happiness is created from micro achievements. So if you look at very, very extreme model, if you look at someone who is depressed, right, they struggle to get out of bed in the morning, they struggle to brush their teeth, they struggle to walk outside, they struggle to get motivated, right? There's someone who gets up at the same time every single day, who brushes the teeth, who has a coffee, who goes on the morning walk, who sets a task list. And for me, it's about when you tick boxes off and you build these micro achievements on a day-to-day basis, that's what builds confidence, because it's the mindset of going, I know I can. Right. So when someone comes in and you're like, right, I need to take a risk investment, or I need to take a risk move, right, it'll come down to pretty much how confident that you are in yourself and your own ability. But if you are not nailing the absolute basics, it's just like, for example, if someone comes to you and go, right now you need to jump into ads, but you know full well that your current content strategy is shit, and your product is not all over the place. You're not doing the right type of follow-up process. You're not going to be confident jumping into that. You're just thinking about it because someone said that you might need it. Right? For me, I always go with nailing the absolute basics is the first thing that you need to do. Like we've said about the online coach with client management model, short form content, and then social proof. If you nail the absolute basics from a starting point, then you get into a lot more of a confident mindset to take risks. For me, risks is what I enjoy the most. The coach convention with a risk this year, double the size of 2022. Not even I could have gone in safe. I could have gone same size type venue, better kind of structure, and knowing that I could easily sell it out. Where's the fucking fun in that? I love the fact that I'm thinking, shit, I've got to bust my ass to get this sold now. And then, but the moment that you then succeed, and I'm like, right, I've just sold 350, 400 tickets on that. And I'll be like, mint, right, what's next? And when I were in the event the coach convention, there's a room in the same venue that holds 900 people. I'd not even started this coach convention, and the only thing that were going through my mind were 2025, I'm fucking selling that out. I've not even started this one. That's all I was thinking. But the thing is, if you looked at me in my early 20s, I didn't have that type of mindset. I used to struggle. I used to be defeatist. I used to kind of almost like be resistant to having resilience on myself. I used to beat myself up. I used to have imposter syndrome. But the only thing that's differentiating me from where I am now is an accumulation of just doing the do, nailing the basics, and accumulating confidence over time. And I think that's one of the biggest areas that people they slack on, is the fact that they're just not doing the right things to increase the confidence in the first place. They've got shiny object syndrome. They're trying to jump at what's the next trending thing. Right? For example, right, if you I've got to jump off in 2 minutes, mate. I'm sorry, I've got another call. Forgot. But if you're looking to build that, if you're looking to perform, if you eat 3 or 4 meals a day, you have fruit and veg, you hydrate and you sleep, you're going to lose body fat and you're going to perform. Right? It's exactly the same at business. If you've got organizational structure, you're getting up at the same time, you're nailing the absolute basics of what you need with marketing and product value, you're going to get confident to start pushing for that next step. But what I find is that people aren't nailing the basics, try and go 3 steps ahead and then trip themselves up and they wonder why.
Yeah. And Ben, last question here to wrap up. So that whole journey from the meal prep, the different ventures the last 10 years, like if you could sit back around, like have a coffee with your younger self, what's one kind of big lesson, one big piece of advice you'd give him to maneuver all the hardship and all the pain from all that?
The biggest lesson that I would have, the biggest thing that I'd say, oh God, I'd make there's so many. The number one would be myself. And it'd be a variations of that. It'd be forgive myself for who I've been in my life before, and it would be myself because people like who I am. Because I spent a long time thinking, I spent a long time hating myself and hating who I was, and it was the moment that I started to actually accept who I am and got help for who I am. And it was the moment where I was confident to start taking risks and pushing stuff forwards there. But it'd be 100%. It's the same thing I say to every single person is, just be yourself, right? And also it's hard when you've got ADHD and ASD like I am to not overthink things, but especially from like 15 years old, it'd just be almost like stop giving yourself an hard time. Like you're going to get there, you just need time. Because it's like right now, I'm setting bigger goals than I've ever done before, but I'm not beating myself up the fact that I'm not there. Do you know if that makes sense? Whereas when I was 15, when I was 20, when I was 25, I was still beating myself up because I had these aspirations, but I'd not achieved them. And I used to abuse myself, and I used to feel worthless because I'd not achieved it yet. So that's the big, and it sounds daft because that's a very common trait across high performance people. What I'll say, if you're hungry for that next thing, you're never satisfied. Know who you are, own yourself, be authentic, and just basically forgive yourself for the mistakes that you obviously kind of make, and just stay honest and transparent in it all, and just be present in the moment and learn to love the journey as much as the destination. That's the biggest thing I'd say to people and myself.
Yeah, because so much of it can come from like that dark energy from driving forward anyway, and it's like it's a fine line with it. Where can people find you? Where can coaches listening to this find out more about the coach consultant?
Yeah, definitely give us a follow if you do see this. It's Ben Hawksworth. I think I do know my Instagram handle. Ben Hawksworth _. I've actually started my podcast and stuff again now, which is going to be on Ben Hawksworth YouTube as well. And if you want to look at what we do as a company and stuff, it's on my page and at the Coach Consultant and the Coach Convention. But if you go onto my Instagram, everything's there.
Perfect. The links for that will be down below. Cheers, guys.
Nice one, mate.